A frustrating game. I don't know how else to describe the Golden State Warriors falling to a very shorthanded Dallas Mavericks team. Larry Krueger and I, it's the Krug Show. It's Golden Days. Misery loves company. Let's commiserate together and be miserable to talk about this brutal game. Again, the Krug Show and Golden Days. Bill O'Reilly, take it away.
That is it for us today, and we will leave you with I can't do it. No. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. And things suck. Woo!
Let's go. In a minute, I'ma need a sentimental man or woman to pump me up. Come on and break me off. 'Cause I get what I want and I like what I see. If you
Damn, buddy, healed minutes. Larry Krueger is on Twitter at SportsLarryK. That's where you can follow the Krug Show and its incredible host. I call him the king of Bay Area sports media. Larry, who's paying your bills, brother? Great to see you on a frustrating night for the Golden State Warriors.
Well, of course, the Krug Show brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week. We're also brought to you by Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles.
Larry, don't cut it. Dude, Pig and a Pickle, tell the folks about the brisket that sells out every day, which is a sign of a damn good barbecue.
There you go. It's Pig and a Pickle. It's open 7 days a week. They're in Corte Madera. They're in Emeryville. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. Get some brisket chili. We're also brought to you by Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California, along the Monterey Peninsula. Thanks to Anthony Catania, who's at 831-521-5264. And we're also brought to you by Mancini's. Mancini's Sleep World is a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. They offer a 120-night guarantee. And if you shop online or visit in store, just use the code KRUG10, K-R-U-E-G 10, and you'll get 10% off your mattress purchase in any of their locations or online at sleepworld.com.
And the promo code, again, right below Larry there, KRUG10 for a 10% on a mattress. That's a big deal. That's a lot of ducats you're saving there. So go check out Mancini's and make sure you use the code KRUG10 for that 10% discount. Tonight's episode brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Use the promo code GSW for a free pick and up to $1,000 for your welcome bonus. It's super fun. It's legal in over 30 U.S. states, including right here in California. Daily fantasy made easy. I post all my picks on social media. Follow along, win some money. Tonight's episode brought to you by Dr. Tom Rosanelli, the hair restoration specialist. It's the 50th anniversary of the 1975 Warriors winning the title, Rick Barry winning the finals MVP. And as a result of that, we're going to add a 0 to that 50 and give you $500 off any service from Dr. Tom Rosanelli. Just mention Rick Barry by name. Look like the new LeBron James, not the old LeBron James. Call 415-931-9881. Again, 415-931-9881 or visit Rosanelli.com for a free consultation. At a bare minimum, just give the man a call, say what's up, and just let him know what's going on and help us out at a bare minimum because we want to keep him going for the long term. And last but not least, BetOnline, the world's most trusted betting platform. Football's over. If you're depressed about that, the good news is you can bet on NBA. Spring training is just around the corner. Larry's going to spring training. I'm sure we'll talk about that and so much more. But again, BetOnline, the game starts here. Larry, that was a frustrating game. I mean, it was one of those games where, like, the Warriors are the better team, but it was just Kyrie Irving having this insane night where it felt like he couldn't miss anything. And then Stephen Curry was missing everything the first 3 quarters of this game, but he healed. The minutes there were borderline absurd. Larry, what was your reaction to a 111-107 loss by the Warriors? They failed to take advantage of the standings to leapfrog. What did you see there, man? And great to see you, brother.
Well, I mean, there was a couple things. I mean, the Warriors got outscored, 15 at the 3-point line. Golden State just couldn't throw it in the ocean from beyond the arc. The shot selection tonight in the first 3 quarters cost them the game. I mean, they shot 28% from 3, 10 of 35. And, you look at Dallas shot 41%. They took almost the exact same number of threes, except they made 5 more. So that was big. And then the Warriors also couldn't get out on the break. They couldn't get any easy buckets on the break. So they got no fast break points to speak of. And, overall, it was a close game. I mean, it was a 1-point game after one. It was a 1-point game at the half. It was a 3-point game going to the fourth, and it was eventually a 15-point lead. The Warriors came back from being down and they made a game of it. But at the end there, just the Jimmy Butler offensive foul. I mean, Kyrie drew the foul. He got the call. I thought Steph got hacked a couple times in the fourth. It just didn't get called. I don't know. I thought that was kind of bizarre. So I just overall, I mean, Moses Moody made a couple of key mistakes. Podziemski missed a couple big shots. But yeah, I mean, it was anybody's game. I thought Golden State had it. When they basically took the lead with whatever it was, 2 minutes left. But Dallas was more efficient. They closed it out. And, Irving is a great closer. There's no question about it. He's a great closer. And what can you say? Not only did he make the plays on the offensive end, he made the plays on the defensive end. I just thought that, it's like force the ball out of his hands. They did eventually. Make somebody else beat you. But he still wound up beating them. And, what can you say? I thought it was an entertaining game. I thought Golden State was going to win it, but their shot selection was not good enough in the first 3 quarters.
There was a lot to break on. The shot selection I want to touch on a little bit because I didn't think the Warriors were running the kind of offense that usually takes care of the opposition. Ball movement wasn't there as normal. I think the fact that the Warriors tonight had just 29 assists reflects that in terms of not running the same smooth offensive machine that we're accustomed to. Part of that was shots not falling. Buddy Hield, I thought, had an awful game, and he played way too many minutes. On a night like this, Steve Kerr needs to learn to pull that leash with Buddy. If he's shooting like this, finish the game 1 of 9 from the field, 1 of 6 from 3, a -21 in net rating, which is a team worst figure, 3 points total in nearly 29 minutes of play, completely unacceptable. But Larry, I think the theme of tonight, what a lot of people are going to talk about, and I hate the fact that this is yet another talking point, but the officiating was abysmal. You brought up the fact that Steph Curry, those non-calls late in the game. I agree with you there, but it extends. I even have like a few examples specific pertaining to just how bad these refs were mucking up the game tonight. They called a 3rd foul on Steph Curry right at the start of the second half. And that foul was egregious. There was, I think, like 0.1 seconds remaining on the shot clock. And they called the foul on Steph that, A, it shouldn't have been a call to begin with. B, to call it that late, you're just giving the Mavericks free points at that stage in the game. And a 3rd foul on Steph, again, ridiculous. It goes beyond that, though. There was that weird
to me,
play.
the worst call, I thought, at least the worst call that I saw was on the Kyrie Irving, rip through. So the guy was holding the ball an inch off the floor, and he rips it through, and the ball and it gets knocked. And they gave Kyrie Irving. I've never seen Kyrie Irving ever bring the ball from his ankles and in one motion shoot a 3 ever. And they gave him 3 points, 3 free throws, and he made all 3. I mean, that was a point right there. I mean, that was a key.
Did you understand the explanation? Like Tim Legler was trying to justify the call. Like I thought the NBA revised that rule where rip throughs were not going to be rewarded anymore. But then Legler was the color commentator tonight for ESPN's broadcast, at least if you watch the national version. Like he was trying to justify and explain like some loophole that Kyrie had exposed, resulting in that 3rd free throw. Like, did you understand what was going on there?
There is no loophole. There is no loophole. If it's a rip through, it's 2 shots. If it's on the 3-point attempt, it's 3 shots. It wasn't on the 3-point attempt. It was a bogus. He never had the ball to shoot it. I mean, the ball came out at his ankles, and then he just continued up with the motion. He was never. I mean, come on. I mean,
so the refs screwed that up.
The refs screwed that up, so that cost the Warriors a single point.
It did.
Okay. Steph Curry missed a free throw at the end. That cost him a single point.
Third game in a row, by the way.
And that burned him. I mean, those two little things cost them the game. It really did, because the way it wouldn't have ended the way it ended. It would have played out differently if those 2 points were back in the Warriors' ledger.
There was you're absolutely right. Stephen Curry, for the third straight game, has missed a free throw, which by his standards, he leads the NBA. At least entering tonight, he was hovering around 93%. So that's an anomaly on Stephen Curry's part, and especially late in the game when you need that free throw to take a lead, and he missed. But there was another sequence. I'm not done with the refs, man, because tonight was egregious. There was a play, and I'm guessing you'll remember this if you were watching at the time, where they called like a kick ball. And then they had a meeting, and then it wasn't a kickball, and then it was an 8-second half-court violation, and then it wasn't. Like, why are you stopping the game for 5-10 minutes for bullshit like that? Like, do you remember that moment of the game that I'm talking about?
No, I mean, I might have missed that. I was walking in and out of the room.
It was a split second. Yeah, that's why I asked. You could have missed it easily, but that was a moment that was just utterly ridiculous. I don't even know if the Warriors ended up getting penalized for that, and then the end of the game, and I'm sure I'm missing a lot of different sequences, and I'm sure the chat's on fire, pointing out a lot of different moments in this game where the refs just bungled everything. The very end of the game, Kyrie Irving is rewarded with an offensive foul. I've never seen a more subjective interpretation of NBA rules than offensive charges. Like, I thought you had to be, when the way we define someone being set, having position defensively, is with your feet being set. Yet when we saw the replay, all I saw was Kyrie Irving shuffling his feet. His feet were never set. He even had to move a little bit to stay in front of Jimmy Butler. Yet they called that an offensive foul. I don't get that at all. Did you? What were your thoughts on that offensive charge? Because I didn't think that was a charge. I thought Butler should have had a +1 there, and that would have been the difference in this game. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think that was a charge. I also thought there was another sequence in the second half where Kyrie changed his pivot foot on a bucket that he made, and they gave it to him. He changed his pivot foot. He took a fourth step and changed his pivot foot. And it's like, come on, man. I mean, how sloppy is these are supposedly the greatest players in the world. If they're the greatest players in the world, then they should know that you get 2 steps. I mean, they give him 4 steps there, I thought was egregious. So, I've never been a fan of the NBA officials. I know lots of people, the people around the NBA are constantly, loving up on the officials. Oh, it's incredible. Oh, it's amazing. Basketball is officiated on every level better than it's officiated in the NBA, in my opinion.
It's awful. It's awful at the NBA level. This was, I mean, like, if you told me that there was a conspiracy tonight and the refs were trying to help a Mavericks franchise whose fan base is going through depression, I would believe it, because it looked like that. You'd have to convince me otherwise. This was awful. I don't want to sit here and spend the whole night talking about officiating, unless, Larry, you want to keep this going. But I'm tired of this, man. I hate it in sports. I'm looking forward to the day when we have robots calling things. So at a bare minimum, there's consistency. We know what the rules are instead of it depending on who the official actually is and what's going on behind the scenes. And it's bullshit, dude. It's such a tiring thing. There's just too much
going on here. There's just too much. The dialogue, the players and the refs are on a first name basis. They screw up one call and then it's licensed to just do makeup calls. And it's like, what makeup calls are? More screwed up calls. Yeah. So, you know what? Let's not have, I can't stand that. They're constantly injecting themselves. I mean, there's so many examples. I mean, through history of bad officiating and, officials being involved, from Draymond's whole thing with LeBron to the Knicks and the Heat getting, that whole series years ago getting altered because guys came off the bench. I just can't stand the whole thing with the officials in the NBA. I can't stand how everybody calls everybody by a first name.
Yeah,
That drives me crazy. It's like
absurd.
you
Yes.
shouldn't call your high school teacher by their first name. You shouldn't call your NBA ref by his first name. And it's so incestual and the whole thing. And it's like, I have my calls and my this or that. And it's just, I don't like when a timeout any time in the game, you got 5 guys on the floor, 3 of them head back to the huddle, 2 go to negotiate with the ref. It's tired. It's so tired, but you have to do it because, that's the way it works. And it's like, I don't know. To me, I feel like it's the greatest. NBA are the greatest athletes playing a great game at a really high level. But the officiating is horrible. Horrible.
It is.
And
I
prefer
trash.
the college officiating because I feel like the officials in the NBA they totally officiate the name on the back of the jersey and don't. That's not officiating. That's you're now you have an agenda. You're an activist. You're an activist with an official's jersey out there because you actually have a role and you have a position, and it's like, come on. Stop it. Nobody shows up to root for the officials. So.
No, nobody. Not one person. Although they act like they do. Like people do show up to hear them blow the whistle. I want to take a step back real fast. Larry, you said that calling high school teachers by their first name is not acceptable. So when my English teacher asked me to call her Brittany and she gave me massages for every correct score, that's not normal.
No. I mean, it happened in private schools in San Francisco. Oh, call me Pam. No, I'm not going to call you Pam. Of course, I went to St. Ignatius, where if you dared called any teacher by their first name, you were probably kicked out of the school. I mean, it was
Mike.
He was, Hey, Tom, I got a question. Excuse me, it's Mr. Jones to you. It's whatever. So yeah, no, don't. It just as a rule, I just don't like the fact that there's such this ongoing dialogue, and the people who are pro NBA, who love the NBA, who played in the NBA, who ref in the NBA or coach in the NBA or announce NBA games, they love it. They love it. Oh yeah. There's an ongoing dialogue between. Why is that good?
I don't know.
That
I don't think it's good at all.
You don't hear that in the pros. When was the last time you heard the NFL? You ever heard, Dre Greenlaw or Fred Warner address one of the officials? Sam, come on, Sam. That's how. It's just a little too much, dude. It's a little too much, and
it's not a little
and I
too
don't.
much. It's a lot.
I don't
too
like
much.
the fact that they're okay with blowing calls because they feel like they can make it up over the course of the game. But making it up is by definition, you're talking about calls that shouldn't be called, that you're just calling because of previous calls.
Yeah.
And I don't like this whole the buddy nature of the relationship between NBA players and NBA officials. I don't trust NBA officials, and I some of the calls that I've seen in my lifetime of watching the sport are just atrocious. So I personally, it's a great game played by great athletes, and I don't like the way it's officiated. Now, certain things I like about the NBA officials. Generally, I like the fact that in the NBA, everything's not a charge. Where in college, everything's a freaking charge.
Except when the game matters.
It's a charge. It's a charge. Everything. We're going
except
the other
for
way.
when the game is
all
on the
this,
line. And
I just can't stand that in college. But at least there's not this hey, I screwed this up in the first, so I'm going to spend the next 3 quarters, trying to correct my first quarter mistake. How about just call it straight? How about that?
Taking the refs out of the equation, those absolute pieces of shit. I'm so irritated with them. The Mavericks had a couple players who had certain players had business lighting it up, although Kyrie Irving, 42 points tonight, 15 of 25 from the field, 7 of 10 shooting from 3. It felt like he didn't miss at all. But there were other players in this game who had no business lighting it up. Brandon Williams, a guy who personifies a garbage time player, a guy who we hadn't seen play basketball, I believe, since February 2nd, all of 6'1", a nobody, except for tonight when he played the Warriors. He played 15 minutes, 4 of 6 from the field, 2 of 3 from deep. His 12 points were pivotal. A guy named Olivier Maxence Prosper, was burning the Warriors tonight. He had 6 assists, 3 boards. He only had 6 points. But my point is, the Mavericks, it's insane that certain players are just eating up the Warriors. And I look at the Warriors' minutes. Steve Kerr went back with Quentin Post in the starting lineup. I love that. But then for a lot of this game, though, we witnessed this iteration of small ball that I thought we were ready to move on from. Larry, there was a moment in this game where 4 of the 5 players were point guards. It was Podziemski, Steph, GP2, and Buddy Hield. I guess they're point guards and shooting guards. But my point is, if you're going to have those 4 out there with Kevon Looney, don't expect to win. I don't care how small the other team is. Buddy Hield tonight did not have business playing the minutes that he did. What were your thoughts watching him get nearly 30 minutes of action and score just 3 points?
He doesn't do anything other than shoot. So when he's not shooting well, he's a 0.
Yes.
But it wasn't just him.
Agreed.
I thought, the combination of Moody, Podziemski, and Buddy Hield shot him out of it. I mean, Hield shot 1 of 6 from 3. Moody shot 2 of 8 from 3. Pods shot 0 for 2 from 3. I mean, when you go 3 of 16 from 3 and on 3 guys that all got 20 25 minutes plus, that's going to burn you. And that I thought that was a huge crusher. But yeah, I mean, Buddy Hield is not good. He had no assists. He doesn't make anybody better, really. He's got to be his. It's a make or miss league, and when it's going through the hoop, Buddy's good. But when he's not, it's like Buddy's useless. And he was 1 of 9, 1 of 6 from 3, 3 rebounds, no assists, no steals, no blocks. It's like, minus 21. It was not his night. It was not his night at all.
Yeah, and I thought Guy Santos, the Warriors could have used a lot more of him. He only played 12 minutes in this game. Quentin Post, 11 minutes, 44 seconds in this game.
Guy Santos had 7 rebounds in those 12 minutes.
And every time he plays, he brings so much good energy. He was a plus 10 in net rating tonight. I don't like. I on one hand, I'm appreciative of Kerr for playing him. Period. I mean, because worst case scenario, he's just rotting on the bench even now. But I mean, if you're gonna play him. Like, commit to it, man. Like good things happen when Guy Santos plays. I love the kid. I see him as a part of the future. Quentin Post is showing more and more that he belongs. I just wish instead of 30 minutes for Buddy Hield, maybe you bring that down to 20. Maybe if you see him just not hitting anything all night, move on. You've got options on your bench. Stephen Curry also struggled. You brought up the shooting woes of Moody and Podziemski and Buddy. Steph did not have a good shooting night either. We mentioned the free throw that he missed down the stretch, which was pivotal, but he was only 4 of 13 shooting from deep, whereas while Kyrie Irving was lighting it up with that 7 of 10 performance, you had Stephen Curry, the greatest shooter ever, not on top of it tonight. His final stat line, 25 points, had 8 assists, 5 rebounds, but again, the 9 of 23 shooting from the field, the 4 of 13 shooting from deep, those are not numbers we're accustomed to. And when he's shooting like that, it's going to be hard for the Warriors to win. What did you see? Was it just an off night for him? Did you see anything from the defense that caused Steph maybe to struggle? Like, what was your take on Steph tonight?
Steph's got, I think a bad knee, and he can't free himself up. He's covered in the half court where he used to have all kinds of quickness and agility and free himself up, and now he really can't do that. So it's gotta the defense has got to help him out by not covering him, and if they stay on him, he just has a hard time freeing himself up. I do think that when I'm looking at this Warrior team, think about the bench here. Santos gives you energy. Peyton gives you defense. Okay. You need somebody who can give you offense. Now, they got Peyton, got 14 tonight. I thought Peyton was pretty good. But they could use a little bit more offensive firepower, I feel like, off the bench. And there's guys out there that they ought to try to get. The guy that I think I would go for is Bones Highland.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't like him at
I've
all,
always
but-
liked him. He was good at VCU. He was a scorer.
He was.
And the guy can dribble. He can score. He's a big time scorer. I mean, and he can handle. He's not old. He's 24. I mean, he's got an incredible handle. He's a great shooter. I mean, great scorer. He can finish. The Clippers had him. They traded him to the Hawks. The Hawks waived him over the weekend. And this guy
first he was with the
first round
Nuggets.
pick.
The Nuggets wanted nothing to do with him either. He was originally
Right.
a Nuggets player.
But 38%, almost 39% in 20 games with the Clippers from three. So it's not like this guy can't shoot, and he's a pretty good scorer. He
is a scorer. He's a bucket, man. Just like Kai 17 writes, he's a bucket. I don't doubt that, but he's also a head case, dude. Like I guess what I'm saying is I would not predict the Warriors taking a flyer on Bones Highland. You're right about the talent, but the fact that the Nuggets were like, no, thank you. And then the Clippers are like, no, thank you. I think there's flags there that makes me have second thoughts about that. But so you'd rather on the buyout market, because the Warriors have 2 slots there, you'd rather they spend or use at least one of those slots on another guard? Like, you don't think size is more important? Like, you'd rather aim for
They didn't even play TJD. They didn't even play TJD tonight.
They did not play him. Yeah, he was DNP'd.
Yeah, so it's not like they don't have size that they're not using. If you want to use some size, you use TJD. Who do you want?
Well, this morning we kind of went over it, and I'll happily go over it with you again tonight. The buyout market, it was a topic of discussion with our buddy Damon Bruce. Let me pull this article up again because I have it right here, and there's a lot of interesting names. And look, if you missed the morning show on Golden Days, all the better. Here's some names. You mentioned Mo Bamba as a player that you like. I don't blame you, man. He would give you defense. He would bring you some toughness and tenacity inside. You mentioned Bones Highland. I'll read all the names off. We might as well, man. Reggie Jackson. What are your thoughts?
I love him. I mean, he was really good in the playoffs a few years ago with the Clippers. He's rugged. He's a big-time scorer when he wants to be. He can be a defender. And I like him a lot.
So he is available currently. Christian Wood, who was with the Lakers,
well, he's hurt.
Was formerly with the
got
Mavericks.
A knee problem. He's got a bad knee, doesn't he? Isn't that why they cut him, because he can't play?
No, I think it was just a numbers game. I think
I thought he had a bad knee situation, didn't he?
He might, but I think he was part of the trade. He was part of one of the trades at least, and then he got cut. There's a lot more though. I got more names for you. So Ben Simmons, who we've talked about, is off the market. Clippers signed him. Alex Len is off the market. The Lakers signed him. I feel like Alex Len would have been awesome, but anyways, Bojan Bogdanovic of the Nets.
Well, he's a big man who can shoot. There's no question. He can really shoot.
Yeah.
You talking about Bogdan or Bojan?
Bojan.
Yeah, Bojan's a big man who can shoot the ball. I mean, I don't know how healthy he is, but he's interesting.
Steph Curry.
I mean, do the Warriors want another 6'2" player? I don't know.
If he can shoot, I mean, they seem to have no issues playing other 6'2" guys. So I don't know. I mean, Bones Highland is like 6'1".
Bones Highland's way longer though than Steph Curry. Bones Highland plays like a 6'4" player. I don't know. I mean, if seems like Seth has had many opportunities to rejoin the Warriors at different points and just hasn't. So my guess is he doesn't want to. But
I know, and which is weird to me. I personally would like to see him back. What about Vasily Micic?
He's interesting too. I mean, I like his game. I mean, he's got some fire. I kind of like his game. He's out
Cam
there.
Reddish.
I don't like Cam. Cam, I think, is out of shape. I don't think he takes his games that seriously. Yeah, I liked him in college. I don't like him anymore.
PJ Tucker.
No, old. I mean, if all you want is somebody to shoot corner, he can only shoot in the corner, I think, for the most part. He doesn't do 4 years ago, yeah. He's rugged,
40.
two-way player.
He hasn't played in like 2 years because the Clippers just didn't want him, but they were stuck with him. What a weird scenario. Cody Zeller.
I've always liked Cody Zeller. I mean, Cody Zeller is the better of the Zeller brothers. He played at Indiana. Yeah, he's not bad. He's a big guy who can run the floor and do some things. I kind of like Cody Zeller.
All right, and I saved the best name.
And then he needs Rosanelli too. So I mean, if you get Cody Zeller, maybe you could get him to come on the show, and maybe Rosanelli could hook him up.
Dude, Cody Zeller is the atypical Dr. Tom Rosanelli client. If anybody needs the services, it would be Cody Zeller, 415-931-9881. Go call him, Cody. He'll help you out. Here's some really good names now. And these players are not available yet. They might not ever be available, but these have been names that have been floated out there as potential buyout candidates, and these are the marquee names. The first one is a player that formerly played for the Warriors. A huge regret on the Warriors' part to let him go. He might be available again, and that's Chris Boucher of the Toronto Raptors. Gives you size, knows the system. Your thoughts?
Oh, I mean, I like Chris Boucher. Why is he available?
He might be available because he's going to be an unrestricted free agent, and he plays for the Raptors, who are going nowhere. So it's one of those things, and he's also in his 30s. So the Raptors kind of look at it as a situation where he's going to probably move on. You might as well let him, leave and play for a contender instead of a rebuilding scenario with the Raptors. Again, no guarantees he's going to be available, but his name has been floated as a potential buyout candidate. So that's one, which I'd be very happy with. Malcolm Brogdon, too old?
Yeah, I mean, Brogdon was a good player 5 years ago, but I don't see anything great there.
All right, this name is who I want the most. If for no other reason, because I'm confident if he was playing tonight and was getting minutes instead of Buddy Hield, his defense alone would have caused havoc. He would have made some clutch buckets. That is Bruce Brown, former champion. The dude's a pit bull. He's currently with the Pelicans. He's in the final year of a $20-something million contract. Your thoughts on Bruce Brown?
Bruce Brown is a dog, and he's tough. So, I mean, I kind of like that. I mean, I the one thing I've liked this week is the toughness that Jimmy Butler has brought this team. Yes. And if you had added Bruce Brown, I think you're kind of doubling down there. So I kind of like that name.
Me too. I really like that. I got a few more for you. That's not it. Javonte Green, who's also on the Pelicans right now.
Great athlete. I mean, he's a great athlete. There's no question about that. I don't love his shot. He's a great athlete, though. If you're looking for someone just to run the floor and defend, Javonte Green's a tremendous athlete.
Absolutely. And one more, and this is a name that's very intriguing, at least to me. I think the energy he would bring, he's big. He protect the rim. Larry Nance Jr., who's currently with the Hawks and will likely be bought out. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, to me, he'd be at the top of the list. I think Larry Nance Jr. could do a lot of good things for the Warriors. I think he's smart. I think he's athletic. I think he can play the 5. I think he can run the floor. Yeah, I like Larry Nance Jr. That would probably be the guy that I'd want.
Yeah, absolutely. And you bring up Jimmy Butler, his third game with the Warriors, the team's first loss with him on the team. I would not put this loss on him tonight. 21 points, shot 8 of 17 from the field, 5 of 6 shooting from the free throw line. The 6 free throw attempts, I thought there were a few more plays that he should have been sent to the line after being fouled, especially, and that charge was just egregious. He added 9 rebounds, 7 assists. We haven't collaborated since Jimmy Butler started actually playing for the Warriors. We did a show last week soon after the news. We both were happy with the news. Your reaction now, 3 games in, Jimmy Butler, what are your thoughts?
I love it. I love it because, Wiggins I thought was soft and Butler's not. Also, Butler goes to the line. The Warriors do not. So he balances them out. He gives them a rugged guy who's, very experienced. And I just think there's a toughness to his game. And there's only so many guys on the floor. So when you add a guy with, great toughness and you already have a Draymond Green, now you've got a pretty rugged outfit. Now, I think Golden State could be a team that nobody wants in the playoffs if they can just get in, but that's a big if too. I don't know if they're going to be able to get in.
Well, God, games like tonight don't help the cause. And that's part of the reason why this one stunk so much is because the Warriors had every opportunity to leapfrog the Mavericks. We'll look at the standings in just a second, but I believe if I have my research correct, the Warriors would have leapfrogged to the 8th spot in the standings had they won. That's how costly this loss was tonight. Incredibly frustrating. But I'm totally with you in terms of the big picture and what Butler could provide for this team if they make the postseason. I think they will, man. You have doubts about the team making the postseason? Like, I'm feeling confident about that. Like, what do you think?
Well, I mean, if they, it depends. I mean, it's an older team. There could get some injuries. If there's, you never know. I mean, right now they look like they're on a trajectory to make it and maybe make it easily. But, anything can happen. I wouldn't, let's just be honest about this. They have pissed away at least 6 to 8 games already.
Yeah.
Games that they should have won. This Warrior team should have a much better record. I can think of so many games that they had that they blew. So, they're going to have to play, better basketball down the stretch, and they're going to have to make sure that they win all the winnable games. Not necessarily a road game against the Mavericks, but you got to win. You blew at least a half dozen games earlier this year that you should have won. So to me, I'm looking for them to maybe win a few games down the stretch.
Yes.
That maybe they should lose to try to even it out a little bit.
This game was frustrating. By the way, a member of the Krueger Show audience dropping $1.99 with the Niners question. We'll answer this real fast, Larry. G Code Travels Vlog POV writes, trade pick number 11, Debo, and a third move up and get the Jags number 5 pick. This is a Warriors show tonight, but Larry, your thoughts on
Well, there's an awful lot of people who, Debo wants out, and there's an awful lot of people that want to trade him. And some people have suggested the Niners trade Debo in the 11th pick to the Jaguars for the 5th pick overall. This guy's adding a 3rd round pick to that. I don't know. I'd like to know who that person wants a pick at 5. But yeah, I could see a trade involving Debo to Jacksonville. I don't think it's I don't think that would be the first place that I think he will get traded. I think I could see him in a couple other spots, like more of a contending team than Jacksonville. But yeah, absolutely. All deals should be, the Niners should consider all deals for Debo Samuel. And especially if you could find one that would bring you a receiver in return, because they're going to need a receiver, even if they get rid of him.
Good call on that. A Brooklyn opinion dropping $1.99 saying, so we agree then that Steve Kerr blew a lot of games as coach of the Warriors. I think he's hurt more than helped this year, but that's just me. Larry, it was weird to me. I can't remember off the top of my head if the final play was scripted or if they brought the ball up. I can't remember off the top of my head, and I apologize for that. But Moses Moody took the 3 that would have given the Warriors a 1-point lead in this game. He was wide open. Moses Moody's 3-point shot was not falling tonight, as you mentioned. 5 of 13 from the field, 2 of 8 from deep. I thought he had a good game otherwise. He 14 points in this game, added 5 rebounds. He added 2 assists. No assists. I'm sorry, but 14 points, 5 rebounds, a +8 in net rating. They were playing winning ball out there when he actually played. But of all the players on the team to take that last shot, is Moses Moody the guy? I don't know, man. What were your thoughts about that?
Well, I don't have a problem with Moses taking that shot. It's just that, he shot 2 of 8 from beyond the arc tonight. He didn't have a single assist.
Yeah.
The one thing about Moses is Moses seems like a guy who can make shots, but does he set up other players? Does he, can he pound a couple dribbles and find somebody, a cutter going to the bucket? It just seems like he is either, he's either shooting it, he's got to finish the play. He can't really facilitate for others. I don't see him as a guy who, if he drives, he doesn't drive with the intent to pass. When was the last time he drove and made a slick pass for a layup to somebody? So, I like Moses. I think there's good basketball IQ there. I think there's a lot more talent than maybe some people think, but he's got to help you as a shooter because and as a defender, because he's not a facilitator. He's not the kind of guy that gets other people involved. He doesn't see the floor and have these big assist games. Look at Jimmy Butler, but Jimmy Butler had 7 assists tonight. Moses Moody had none, not a single assist in 27 minutes. That's almost hard to do.
Jimmy Butler's a playmaker, no doubt about that. I would agree with you that Moses Moody's game, in terms of making other players around him better, that part of his game is not developed yet. And interesting side note, Underdog Fantasy, like a lot of these daily fantasy games, you can bet on things like Moses Moody, whether he's going to have higher than or lower than a certain number of assists. And the line that's set for Moses Moody is usually 0.5, maybe 1.5, depending on the opponent. So it's well known that assists are not his thing. He's also not a point guard. I could see that developing over time, but you're right. He's not someone who involves his teammates yet. And I'm not saying that he doesn't have the ability to do so. It's just not something he's developed at this point. But he was manning up and scoring some tough buckets in this game tonight, using his body for his benefit. And a few of those should have been fouls. But again, the refs were just out of their minds tonight. Absurd performance by them. They shouldn't be performing, period. They should just be calling a consistent game and staying the hell out of the way instead of us talking about it. But what are we going to do there, So I do believe, I saw a few people in the chat tonight, and I think Damien LaRoche, who is a Golden Dazer, brought this up as well. Jonathan Kuminga has been out for a while. He's been out since early January. It's been over a month now. All indications are he's going to be back right after the All-Star game. He should start practicing with the team next week. Something tells me if Kuminga was playing tonight, this would have been a different story. They could have used his size, his athleticism, the easy buckets that would have slowed everything down. The Warriors' offense was struggling tonight, as evident by the fact that they scored a whopping total of 107 points against a Mavericks team missing a whole bunch of people, including their entire front line. PJ Washington was out. Gafford was out. Anthony Davis is out. Derek Lively II is out. Yet the Warriors still had difficulty scoring, and that's where Kuminga would have helped. What are you anticipating when Kuminga comes back? I feel like you have 4/5 of a championship contending roster. I don't know if you agree with that sentiment or not, and I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. But I do think you've got a real team when he comes back, man. What are you looking forward to when Kuminga plays?
Well, I was really happy to see Joe Lacob, give him a vote of confidence today.
Yes.
He was asked about Kuminga and, is he going to get this new contract and what's his status and with Jimmy Butler and so on and so forth. And, he was asked Joe was confident in his answer. He was asked about what it would take to keep Kuminga. He's like, absolutely, 100%. Are you kidding me? I love that guy. We love him. So if you love him so much, let's maybe see a contract extension at some point.
He'll get it.
But I personally would love to see them not put any restrictions on Kuminga when he comes back and just let him go and see if you can play effectively off of him. Because I still think that if this team, I know they got Steph and they got Jimmy and they got other guys, but this is the young guy who's got tons of energy and tons of athleticism. And to me, it's like if the Warriors are going to make any kind of miraculous late season run here where they make it to the conference finals or the finals, and Kuminga's going to have to be, center, absolutely in the middle of that. He's going to have to be really, really good. So I wouldn't treat Kuminga.
He's probably going to.
I wouldn't treat him like he's a secondary player.
Be at the center of it as their starting. That's likely what we're going to see is Jonathan Kuminga as your actual center. I don't know if that really will happen, but it wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, he's an inside player. I get it, but I mean, I'm just saying it's like, don't slow him down by don't make a mistake. Let him go. And let him, just play and try to play off of him, because what he can bring to the table is so much more athleticism, so many easy buckets.
Yeah.
So many, and I've loved the thing that I love the most about Jimmy Butler so far is he just has shown a propensity and a willingness to share the ball and make plays for others. And it's just like, that's exactly what this team needed. His toughness. They needed several attributes that he brings to the table, but it's really nice to see him, making plays for others and setting up other people. And I just think that if somehow Kuminga and Butler could get a little vibe going, that could really carry the Warriors.
Oh, absolutely. I'm really ecstatic. And look, this loss sucked, and it hurt the Warriors in a lot of ways, especially in terms of their pursuit to get a playoff seeding and whatnot. But it does not diminish for a moment how at least I feel in terms of optimism about this team. I thought the Jimmy Butler trade was a wild success. Tonight's game sucked ass. What are you going to do? I do love comments like Bapster Loofman, who writes, the crap I took this morning, greater than, but he healed. I would agree with that sentiment. The Warriors tomorrow, real fast, $1.99 dropped by Claude Daddy Arcadis, saying that why are the Warriors infatuated?
Arcades, I believe it's arcades.
Or arcades, okay. I apologize. Saying, why are the Warriors infatuated with Podziemski? Dude is Nico Mannion 2.0. I don't agree with that sentiment, but Larry, what's your reaction?
Well, he's far better than Nico Mannion, but I understand. I mean, Kerr likes Podziemski, and Podziemski knows how to play. And I think that's why Kerr really likes him. He knows how to play. He plays well in a number of different. He makes it easy on Kerr because he plays well with a number of different other lineups. But ultimately, he is a 6'3" player, 6'4", whatever he is, and he can't finish inside. And tonight he only took 2 threes and missed them both. So it's like, I don't know. I like him. But I don't know if I like him in the fourth quarter because he's just a guy that you don't want him to shoot the perimeter shot because his shot's not that great. And you don't really want him to go try to finish at the rim because he doesn't have that kind of length or creativity or English off the glass to be able to like finish in traffic. So he's a very unique player. I mean, he can make some good decisions. He can rebound the basketball. For a guard, he can, cycle it around. He makes pretty good decisions. I think he's kind of a winning player, but there's no offensive thing that he can hang his hat on. He can't hang his hat on the 3-point line. He can't hang his hat on putting it on the deck and going to the hole. And that's kind of the NBA game. I mean, how many guys operate in the mid range? But he just, I don't like his 3-point shot. I think he kind of leans forward. He doesn't look like a shooter. He reminds me, the way his shooting form reminds me so much of Jason Kidd, where Jason Kidd was an awesome athlete who could run and defend, but his shot was never awesome because he kind of leaned forward. He didn't really and Podziemski does a lot of the same things. Now, Podziemski's shooting it a lot better than he was early in the year, but I still don't trust him. And it's like I'm sitting there in the fourth quarter of games going, okay, when he gets the ball, it's like I don't even know what to root for. Usually it's like with Steph, you're rooting for, let's see him get a shot off. With Kuminga, I'm like, hey, let's see him, have one of his explosive forays to the bucket. But with Podziemski, it's like I don't want him to shoot. I don't want him to dribble. I just want him to kind of keep cycling it around. And to me, you got to bring more to the table than that to be in the fourth quarter closing lineup. So Kerr is infatuated with him. He loves his basketball IQ, and he'll make good plays over the course of the game. But offensively, his game needs to be way smoothed out. He's not a good shooter. He doesn't have a dependable go to the bucket move. He can't finish in the trees. There's not a lot of offensive potential there. So they love him, but they got to have other scorers. He can get other scorers the ball. He understands spacing, but if he himself has to provide the offense, you're in trouble.
Agreed. He's not, look, I think his stats reflect who he is at this point as a player. I'm glad to see his 3-point shot has improved. It's now up to 32.5% on the year. But look, this is a guy who's averaging 9.5 points per game, 3.5 assists per game, 4.7 rebounds per game, in 25 minutes per game. That's what you're getting from him. And if there's ever a stat line that reflects who a player is, again, at this point in his career, I don't doubt that he can improve and become a guy who maybe someday scoring 15, maybe dishing out 8 assists. I do like the Jason Kidd comparison in the sense of like they're very, very similar styles. Like they're both they're bulky type point guards where they got some muscle on them, and so you can't really push them around. Their foot speed's good, not great. Jason Kidd, you're right, did not have a lot of touch on his shot. Even though
he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, Jason Kidd is a million times better than Podziemski. I mean, I don't want people to think that we think that these guys are the same. They're not. Kidd was an all-timer. He had eyes in the back of his head. He had court vision, and that was, unparalleled. I mean, he played at a ridiculous high level as a high school player.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a basketball savant. Podziemski's shot looks like Kidd's, but I mean, Kidd was,
Oh, he's one of the all-time greats. He is. But I see what you're saying though in terms of like some of the comps there. I like what G wrote in the chat that Podziemski reminds him of former Nuggets and many other teams that he played for. Point guard Andre Miller. I like that
comparison too. But what Andre Miller used to do that made him so valuable was he had a very well developed and pure post game where he could get you on his hip and shoot over you. He could do the Dirk one foot shot. He had the fadeaway. He had the up and under. He had low post game and moves, and he could draw fouls. And Podziemski needs to work on his refinement on the low post. But I can see what he's saying. Similar as far as limited athlete, but smart players who can make other guys better. Coaches, favorites of coaches. But I mean, Andre Miller was a very, very great, for an undersized, guard. He was a great post scorer.
Oh, he's one of the best. He's one of the best post-up point guards I think the game's ever seen, in all honesty. A lot of players don't even do that. I could see Podziemski evolving into that point in his career. But look, I agree. I think, Larry, you nailed it in the sense that I don't mind the Podziemski minutes. To me, like 15 to 20 is the sweet spot for how many minutes you give him per game. I don't like him closing games. He clearly has a role. He could be something, but I'm with you. I don't think he should be in there at the end. Like you could there are better options on your roster, and he's just not explosive at this point. I don't know if he'll ever be, but he's solid.
He's kind of a weird guy too. I mean, he's in the lineup, in the closing lineup, and you could argue he shouldn't be, but he was. And they call a timeout, and he chooses to sit in a seat that's like 7 chairs away from Steve Kerr. And then he tries to do one of,
he did that tonight?
Yeah, tonight. Go look at the end of that game. The last time out, there's Steph, Jimmy, Draymond, and then there's like a seat, another seat, a guy standing, and then Podziemski. And it's like, dude, he was in the game. If you're in the game, park your freaking carcass in front of the coach so you can hear him. It's almost like, hey, man, I'm so cool. I don't need what the coach says is like, yeah, whatever. It's like, it's just a bad look, dude. If you're out of the game, that's one thing. But if you're in the game, you probably should be in one of the 4 or 5 seats in front of the coach.
That's weird.
He's writing stuff on a board and showing it and talking. And instead, you're 5 seats over to the right, leaning across some other guy trying to hear. It's like, dude, if you have to lean over and cock your head and it's like, maybe you ought to move a little closer. To me, he seems like he thinks his shit doesn't stink. Like he thinks like, oh man, I'm special, man. I'm really special. And he's not. He's totally not. He's just a guy. But it's great that he's got confidence, but dude, when the game's on the line and the coach calls a timeout and you're in the game, try to be in somewhat vicinity of his instructions. Otherwise, you look like you don't give a shit. Go look at it yourself, and you tell me tomorrow night or whatever next time we talk.
Because the way you're describing it does not sound good. Like you do not want your players acting like that. You want them to be involved. And on top of that, I don't know if I've ever brought this up before, but back in December or late November, I had a source tell me that he was unhappy behind the scenes. The why of that, I have no clue. But Yeah, he's not at a place where he needs to be like disturbing things, and the fact that Steve Kerr loves him even makes that more perplexing. Not a good look. You're right. I will try to find that.
Go to the end of the game and just go look at the last couple timeouts and look where he parks himself, and he's in the game. And it's like, dude, and then he like had to look across, and you could tell he could barely hear, but he's trying to hear. It's like, well, if you're trying to hear, why don't you move down 3 seats, buddy?
Yeah.
You know, I just feel like, he kind of knew that, he's one of Kerr's favorites, and he wasn't going anywhere. So all these other guys at the trade deadline were kind of probably a little nervous, a little this, a little that. And he's just like, hey, man, I know I'm here. You know what I mean? He's got that kind of vibe going.
I have some Steve Kerr sound here as we start to wrap up the show. And this sound is pertinent for what I want to ask you next, Larry, and talk about, which is the Warriors are going to be playing yet another back-to-back. Side note, I know I've mentioned this before. I don't care. I'll mention it time and time and again because of how egregiously unfair this is to the Golden State Warriors. They lead the NBA in back-to-back scheduled. Why? I have no effing clue. Why are the Warriors not making a big stink about it? I have no effing clue. Yet that's the reality of the situation. They have more back-to-backs than anyone else. They play the Houston Rockets tomorrow in a game that's suddenly become a lot more important given this loss tonight. And Steve Kerr was asked by Anthony Slater whether Stephen Curry is going to play tomorrow night. And let's hear from the coach. Make sure you turn the volume up on your devices, folks, because, again, especially when the Warriors are on the road, there are no microphones connected to anything except for what the Warriors themselves will disseminate later on. So the quality sucks. Turn your volume up. Here's Steve Kerr talking about whether or not Stephen Curry is going to play tomorrow.
Fatiguing game, late tip, flying tonight. I mean, can you go with all your veterans tomorrow?
I don't know. We'll talk to Rick after. So it's a tough back-to-back, and that's why that's what makes this loss even more frustrating. Is that we got to get into Houston at 3:00, whatever it is, because the NBA and its infinite wisdom makes us play an 8:45 game, and they clearly don't care about rest or player health. It's just ratings and all that stuff. So I get it. So everyone's got to do it. The whole league's got to do it. So it is what it is. We got to strap it up and get ready for tomorrow.
Larry, I feel like, just piggybacking off what he said there, I feel like the NBA does not give a shit about Stephen Curry, despite the fact that he's one of the biggest moneymakers. He's one of the biggest drivers of ratings. You look at the way officials treat him, and that's the conclusion I will come up with, man. That and the fact of the back-to-backs, again, lead the NBA. That is not the treatment that a player of Stephen Curry's stature should be receiving, yet that's the reality we're in. We don't know if Steph's going to play tomorrow. What are your thoughts on tomorrow and everything I just said?
Well, I mean, first of all, Steph plays the game at a really, really high level, but he doesn't play the game like a James Harden. He doesn't play the game like LeBron James. He doesn't play the game like, I'm trying to think of other players in the past, Corey
like Jimmy
Maggette.
Butler.
He doesn't play the game like,
like Trae Young.
Like Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson, I mean, for the last 5 years of his career, every single freaking time he drove the lane, he was like, and he drew those calls over and over and over again. Steph doesn't do that. Steph doesn't try to sell the in-between calls. He's out there to play, and he's out there to compete, and but he doesn't. I mean, he's not an actor. This is not The Bold and the Beautiful. He is not. He's not a soap opera actor trying to sell things. LeBron is. LeBron absolutely is. Magic Johnson absolutely was. Kobe Bryant, to a large degree, absolutely was. James Harden, Chris Paul. They loved. They're the biggest flopping exhibits left and right. These guys flop left and right. They're constantly selling calls and trying to get the officials going and this and that. And Steph doesn't do that. Steph doesn't play that way. And you would think that he would get calls because of his stature within the sport, but the NBA officials have had to officiate in a league where guys do sell calls, and they do sell, and some of them do it really, really well. And so there's like a percentage of the calls that these guys get because they sell it well. Well, guess what? If you're not trying to sell it at all, you're not going to get those calls. And so Steph doesn't get those calls because he's not out there trying to sell it. And they don't obviously feel the need to really protect him. I thought he got knocked around 2 or 3 times in the fourth quarter of this thing that he easily could have gotten calls and didn't.
Yes. And that happens every game. Every game I see contact. Again, Steph had that welt on his temple that from was the Bulls game, I think, or like no call. That came from a foul that was not called, yet he has this big fat welt on his temple. It's egregious. It's asinine. I've used that word 3 times tonight. I'm sorry.
But Fritz D. Wayne says Steph doesn't drive as much, and thus he doesn't get calls. And that's part of it. But here's the bottom line. When you're a shooter, and anybody who's ever shot a basketball, I don't care if it's at the YMCA, I don't care if it's, what level. If somebody hits your hand on the shot, any contact on the hand, it's got to be a foul. Steph has multiple times a game where his hand makes contact with the defender's hand, and he doesn't get that call. That used to be an automatic. If you touch a guy's hand in the process of the shooting motion, that is a foul. I don't care if it's a light touch of the hand. He's had shots where he's shot the ball and the guy's fingers lock with his fingers and he still doesn't get the call.
Yep.
So it's bizarre, but we're at a point where NBA officials respond. Guys sell calls because officials go for it. Believe me, the LeBrons of these guys would not be, James Harden, Chris Paul, these guys wouldn't be making a career of this if it didn't work. It does work, except Steph doesn't play by that code. He's just like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to play that way. I'm not going to flop. I'm not going to just, sit there and pretend to, I'm not going to do everything for effect. I'm just going to play. And if you got it, you got it. And if you don't, I'm going to look at you kind of funny, but that's it. He doesn't do a lot, and it's bad. It's bad.
It is bad. We're at the hour mark, Larry. We're wrapping it up here. Tonight was a full slate of NBA games, 15 games, including all 30 teams. Are you your call, man? If you got to balance, I get it. If you want to.
I do. I got to bounce. I got an early morning, but I appreciate you having me. Damian LaRoche says, I want to hold Krug's hand, LOL. And then Ray Enderman says, what do you think of Spencer, Larry? Is that Pat Spencer?
Yes, correct.
I think Pat Spencer could make probably more money outside the NBA just going down to the schoolyard and schooling guys. he could be like the white man can't jump guy. He could just put on like a raggedy hat and pretend he's Woody Harrelson and just go to any park in America and just school guys. Hey, you want to play for money? Yeah, I'll play that guy. Are you kidding me? I'll play that guy. He just starts draining shots. No, I think you know what? I would love to see the Warriors lean into the Spencer twins, or they're not twins, but the Spencer brothers. I like Pat Spencer, and I think Pat Spencer has a role off the bench on this team. I'd like to see him get a little bit more consistent minutes. They kind of treat him like he's a mascot, and he's far more talented than that. But I like his brother. His brother, played at UConn. His brother plays I think off the bench for Memphis. I like his brother.
Yeah. The Spencer brothers are clearly phenomenal athletes. There are nights where I prefer Pat Spencer to Brandin Podziemski. I really do, man. There are nights where he looks like a real NBA player, and then there are nights where we're not sure because he gets a DNP tonight included. So, do you think, Larry, I'm wondering, I could be wrong on this, but I'm wondering that part of that question was geared towards getting your opinions on Pat Spencer getting a guarantee deal, which might be a possibility. Is that too much for the remainder of the season?
That's interesting. I mean, you only have so many guaranteed deals, but I think that might be a good move. I mean, I think there's more there if they just gave. It's amazing to me what guys get chances and what guys don't.
Yeah.
Like Anthony Lamb, I never understood why Kerr played him so many minutes. But like a guy like Spencer, when I see him get minutes, he actually looks pretty good. So, but he's obviously in a category of kind of in that two-way. Is he an NBA player? Is he not? But yeah, why not? And unless you got somebody else better that you want to give that contract to, I'd be okay with Pat Spencer getting it.
Yeah. And Jacob Gordon real fast is asking about Markelle Fultz. It was announced tonight that the Sacramento Kings signed him, the former number 1 pick. The Kings, to the best of my recollection, I don't remember them having a single point guard on the roster. I know Malik Monk is their starting point guard, but that's not his natural position. So the Kings signed Markelle Fultz. Any thoughts on that before you bounce?
I don't like Markelle Fultz. Never have. By the way, Luke Luna's like Ty Jerome caught a lot of heat from Larry, and now that he's moved on, he's been balling. I'm not sure if I was the one giving him heat.
I was giving him heat. And look, I don't know where that chat comment is.
That's at 10:26. Luke Luna says that I was giving him heat, but I think it was more you that was giving him heat.
It was much more me. And
I actually like Ty Jerome. I didn't like Anthony Lamb.
I didn't like either of them.
I don't mind Ty Jerome. I like Ty Jerome at Virginia. He won some big tournament games. He's got a good handle. I mean, Ty Jerome I think's better than people think, but I did not like Anthony Lamb. I thought Anthony Lamb never should have been getting minutes over Moody or Kuminga.
I was against both of them. Don't forget Ty Jerome, 2 things. One, his net rating that season was like minus 150 or some. I don't have it memorized or in front of me, but it was some absurd stat where he was clearly the worst player on that team in terms of net rating. Every time he was out there, the team sucked. He didn't play at all last year. Okay, so yes, he's putting up good numbers with a Cleveland team that is stacked now. But don't pretend that for the first time in his career he's having decent numbers and he's playing decent ball, that means that the Warriors blew it 3 years ago. No, I still would not want Ty Jerome on my team. He is a defensive liability. He's putting up good numbers for a Cleveland team that is stacked with size.
He's gotten stronger. He's definitely gotten stronger. He's definitely gotten a little bit more sudden. He's worked on his body a little bit. He understands the NBA game a little bit better. I mean, it's a different game. Let's be honest, man. I watched Ty Jerome at UVA. He was a really good player, in college. But the NBA game is so different, and it takes an adjustment. And now he's adjusted, and he's in the prime of his career. He's probably playing the best ball of his life right now.
Yep. Again, on a very stacked Cleveland team. So, and look, all I'm saying is I don't regret for a second what I was saying back then because it was not working out. Okay, like maybe it would work out now hypothetically, but 3 years later, who knows? And again, he did not play at all last year because of an ankle injury. The whole season, just wiped because he had an ankle injury. So no, I'm not going to sit here and have regrets about my sentiments from back then. Larry, where can people follow you? Any love to your sponsors before you go? And I'm going to carry this for like
one more super here from Claudaddy at the bottom. He says, I'd rather listen to LK do his Ralph voice, notably the story about the bookie paying and collecting, instead of watching pods in the fourth quarter.
Are you going to indulge? He dropped $4.99 for that.
I know. Well, so Ralph, we used to work with Ralph, and Krug, I know you're always talking about gambling. I know you got a guy. I know you got a guy that you bet with. Can you get Ralph down? Can you get me down? I'd love to. It'd be great if you could get me down. And I said, Ralph, let me just tell you about my guy. My guy pays. He's like, good. Oh, that's great. That's great. That's really great. But Ralph, my guy collects. And he's like, ooh. That's all he said. And I said, that makes me nervous, Ralph. My guy will pay you if you win, but if you lose, my guy will collect. And guess what, Ralph? If you don't pay him, he's going to collect from me. So you better pay him. I go, if I'm going to give you this guy's number, you better pay this guy. He's like, I know, come on, I'm good for it. I don't welch. Like, all right, I'll give you his number. Oh. And I even told the guy, I said, hey, man, you cap this guy. You cap this guy out at like, Don't let him go big numbers on you. You know what I mean? And if he starts betting, in C notes and that kind of thing, push him. Give him limits. Give him limits. It's like, you sure, Krug? I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. Krug, thank you for setting me up with your guy. He's very friendly on the phone. Well, guess what, Ralph? He's not as friendly when he's collecting. Oh, that kind of scares me. I'll pay.
He's one of a kind human being. Like no one else like him.
Vis-a-vis. All right, brother. Have a good night, man.
His call sign, angels fly because they take themselves lightly. Was that his?
No, the best was this guy had so much vacation that he used to take off for Christmas break at like December 3rd. But he would insist on the final show that he did at doing his like goodbye to the holidays. So I just wanted to let everybody know I'm not going to be here for the next 3 weeks. I got a lot of vacation piled up. I just wanted to say Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. All these different things, all these different holidays. I just everybody out there, be well, be merry. Like, dude, get out of here. It's December 2nd. The rest of us jerks have to work for 3 more weeks. Oh. If you're gonna get 3.5 weeks of vacation, at least just slide out the back door quietly. No. Yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody.
He was so eccentric. Like he would never like his producer was this individual named Jen Violet, and he would never call directly. Like his method of communication was calling and leaving messages, and then you'd have to call and leave a message back. Like this was before text messaging and all that. So that was the only way he would communicate with you was he'd call, leave these long ass voicemails, like 5-10 minutes of just endless conversation with himself. And then you'd have to call back and leave a message for him. That's how it worked. It was one of a kind, man. The guy was incredible.
Brutal. All right, brother. Good to see you, man. Have a great night.
You too, brother.
We'll talk to you soon.
Can you do a Go Sharks before I can't do Ralph.
Go Sharks. I was sitting there. I was on the glass, and I was talking to Vinny Damfoos, and then Vinny said,
all right, brother. Have a good one, man.
You too, brother. That's the great Larry Krueger. For the Krug Show audience, I'll be with you for just a few more minutes. I'll put the link for Chardol real fast in case he wants to join us for the great Chardol. There you go. Just in case if you're available. All right, let's go through the scoreboard and we'll call it a night. 15 games on the docket across the association. The LA Clippers, 128-114 winners tonight over the Memphis Grizzlies. A lot of Western Conference battles here. The Clippers improving to 30-23. The Grizzlies dropping to 38-16. Desmond Bane, 23.6 rebounds in the loss. Kawhi Leonard getting his groove back, 25 points, 3 steals in the win for the Clippers, a win that did not help the Warriors. The Utah Jazz upsetting the LA Lakers tonight in Utah. Lowry Markkanen, that's Lowry, like Mike Lowry from the Bad Boys movies. Lowry Markkanen, 32 points, 3 steals in the win for the Jazz, who improved to 13-40. The Lakers drop to 33-20. LeBron James, 18 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists on the night for LeBron. I'm looking at Luka Doncic's stats real fast. So Luka finished this game with 16 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, a minus 19 in net rating for Luka's second game. I'd prefer Jimmy Butler's performance. The Denver Nuggets, 132-121 winners tonight over the Portland Trail Blazers. The Nuggets improving to 36-19. Portland dropping to 23-32. Jamal Murray scored a career high 55 points tonight. Klingon, the rookie for the Portland Trail Blazers, he was their top performer, 17 points, 20 rebounds, and 3 blocks. We're going to take a pause here to bring the great Chardol, who's going to sit in for Larry's spot. Chardol, what were your thoughts about tonight's brutal loss for the Warriors?
Hey, Cy.
Hey, Chardol. How are you doing?
You can't hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Can I plug in my headphones and come back?
Just come on. We're getting out of here. Just go. The floor is yours. Go ahead, Shardal.
Sai, so this was a tough loss for the Warriors. They went down against the Mavericks 111-107. It was a gut-wrenching loss. And they could have won this game easily, but it didn't go their way.
It did not.
And Kyrie Irving led the way with 42 points. He was unstoppable from three.
What would you have done differently to handle Kyrie tonight?
Contained him, didn't let him get, if you contained him and wouldn't let him get so hot from three, the Warriors would have won this game.
It was a brutal loss. What were your thoughts on the refs?
I think the refs made so many bad calls. I don't agree with all the decisions the refs made.
Shardal, are you going to join me tomorrow night? I think I'm hosting solo. Are you going to be with me?
I'm gonna join you. I'm gonna join you tomorrow.
Okay. And for everyone else in the audience tonight who wants to partake and have their voice heard, if you're part of the Krug show, again, every post-game Golden Days, when I'm hosting solo, I welcome the audience. Please join in. Join me tomorrow night. Shardal, that includes you. All right. We're wrapping up the show right now. I got the scoreboard. This was a brutal loss, man. I want to light it up and call it a night. So I'm going to bounce here in just a second.
I'll come and look nice tomorrow as your co-host tomorrow.
You know what? You can do whatever you want, Shardal, but I look forward to seeing you, okay?
Am I gonna join you on the? Am I gonna be on the whole time and other guests can join and ask both of us questions?
No, not the whole time, but I'll if you jump on first, I'll make you first. And okay, I can do this for you, Shardal, just because you're a rock star. The folks love you, and I want to give the people what they want, what they ask for. I will leave you on with the other folks. Does that sound good? So when we start bringing audience members on, you'll be there, and every other audience member will be the third person of the panel.
And will you be there too?
Yes.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, I'll see you tomorrow night. All right.
I'm looking forward to that tomorrow night.
Me too, Shardal.
I'll see you tomorrow.
The great Shardal. It wouldn't be a show without him. Moving on for the rest of the scoreboard as we wrap up. The Houston Rockets thankfully also played a game tonight, so at least they don't have yet another ridiculous competitive advantage over the Golden State Warriors, because that's what the NBA does to Dub Nation and the Warriors. The Rockets play tonight as well. They thankfully beat the Phoenix Suns 119-111. Tori Eason, now I gotta look it up because I forgot if it's Tori or Tari Eason led the way for the Houston Rockets tonight with 25 points, 9 rebounds, 3 steals. Kevin Durant, 27 points, 9 assists in the loss for the Phoenix Suns, who dropped to 26-28. Houston improves to 34-20. The Warriors will play the Rockets in Houston tomorrow night. The status of numerous veterans up in the air because of tonight's brutal loss again to the Dallas Mavericks. The OKC Thunder 115-101 winners tonight over the Miami Heat. This game was notable for a huge comeback by OKC in the second half. They improved to 44-9. Miami drops to 25-27. Bam Adebayo, 27 points, 15 rebounds in the loss. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 32 points, 9 assists in the win. Damien saying if Shardal is going to be a bigger part of the show, that you're gonna jump in. I hope you do, brother. I really hope you do. Miguel Jameson saying if you make your shots, you won't have to blame the refs. I guess. But it goes both ways, right? The free throw discrepancy tonight, by the way. The Warriors had 18 free throw attempts to 15 for the Mavericks. So Dallas did not have an advantage when it comes to free throw attempts, but in every other aspect they did. All right, let's move on to the rest of the scoreboard. They got a jam-packed slate of games. The Sacramento Kings, unfortunately, winners tonight over the New Orleans Pelicans, 119-111. The Kings improving to 28-26. The Pelicans dropping to 12-42. Keon Ellis, 27 points in the win for Stack. Zion Williamson, 33 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists in the loss. 2 more games to read. Yeah, no, I stand corrected. A shitload more games. The Milwaukee Bucks 103-101 winners tonight over the Minnesota Timberwolves. Milwaukee improves to 29-24. Minnesota drops to 30-25. Kyle Kuzma, 19 points, 13 rebounds in the win. Rudy Gobert, 20 points, 14 rebounds in the loss for the Minnesota Timberwolves. We'll cover the standings in just a moment to wrap up the show. The Detroit Pistons are going to enter the All-Star break above 500. So congrats to them for finally turning the ship around after decades of mediocrity. They're 128-110 winners tonight at Chicago over the Bulls. Detroit improves to 29-26 on the year. The Bulls drop to 22-33. Jalen Duren, 16 points, 14 rebounds in the win. Nikola Vucevic, a player of the Warriors, reportedly targeted, 21 points, 14 rebounds in the loss. Ooh, Juno Dolfo saying that Steve Kerr is the assistant coach of Jason Kidd. Low the Truth 81, adding that the Minnesota Timberwolves lost tonight to a Milwaukee Bucks team that did not have Giannis and Dame Lillard. I saw someone in the chat, by the way, mention something interesting that we did not get to on the show tonight, which is that a lot of these smaller explosive guards like Dame Lillard, like Kyrie Irving, do seem to light it up when they play the Warriors, which begs the question, why is GP2 on this team if you can't shut these dudes down? But I digress. GP2 actually had a good game tonight offensively, and he also had a really good block at one point in this game as well. Back to the scoreboard. The Cleveland Cavaliers. Ty Jerome's Cleveland Cavaliers, 131-108 winners tonight over the Toronto Raptors. Cleveland improves to 44-10. The Raptors drop to 17-38. RJ Barrett, 27 points, 3 steals in the loss for Toronto. Evan Mobley, love that kid, 12 points, 15 rebounds in the win for Cleveland. Chalk this up as one of the highest scoring games you're ever going to hear about. The New York Knicks in overtime defeating the Atlanta Hawks at Madison Square Garden 149-148. Let me repeat myself. 149-148. They combined for 297 points. Safe to say they overcovered. Karl Anthony Towns, 44 points, 10 rebounds in the win. Trae Young, 38 points, 19 assists in the loss. 3 more scores, we're almost there. 4 more scores, we're still almost there. The Brooklyn Nets, 100-96 winners tonight over the Philadelphia 76ers. D'Angelo Russell, former Golden State Warrior, 22 points. Grimes for the Sixers, I have no idea who that is, had 30 points and 9 rebounds. Who is Grimes? Oh, here he is. Quentin Grimes. So Quentin Grimes tonight, top performer for Philly in the loss. 2 more scores, 3 more scores. The Indiana Pacers, 134-130 winners tonight over the Washington Wizards. Indiana improving to 30-23. Washington dropping to 9-45. Obi Toppin, a top performer for the Pacers tonight, 31 points, 10 rebounds. Jordan Poole, former Warrior, 42 points in the loss. 2 more scores. We're almost there. The Orlando Magic, 102-86 winners tonight over the Charlotte Hornets in the Magic Kingdom. Orlando improving to 27-29. Charlotte dropping to 13-39. Paolo Banchero, 24 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists in the win. Whoever D-Baugh is for the Hornets was the top performer according to ESPN with 16 points. Who is this Baugh guy? Damian Baugh. 24 years old. He's a rookie. I'm going to guess an undrafted rookie. because I can't find anything about him. 6'4", 194. Played at TCU. Was that Texas Christian? Are those the Horned Frogs? Anyways, he was the top performer tonight for the Charlotte Hornets. Oof. And last but not least, your final score of the evening. 30 teams played tonight, 15 NBA games. And this was a doozy. The Boston Celtics, winners at home over the San Antonio Spurs, 116-103. Jason Tatum, 32 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists in the win. Victor Wembanyama, 17 points, 13 rebounds in the loss. The Celtics improved to 39-16. The Spurs dropped to 23-29. Thought I saw someone in the chat, maybe this was last night's show, asking, would I trade if I was a GM Victor Wembanyama for Luka Doncic? The answer to that question, hell to the F no. Hell no. Victor Wembanyama, I don't know if I'd trade him for anybody. Live playing. Very simple and to the point, writing, Kerr, you suck. Well said. All right, and last but not least, the standings. And I'll display this on the screen so we could all enjoy this together. There we go. Give me 1 second here. So based off the scores that I read, the good news is I don't think the Warriors were burned that hard tonight in the standings despite losing to Dallas. The worst part was actually the Dallas loss itself. So when we look at the standings now, the Warriors are still 10th. Phoenix lost, so the Warriors still hold a 1-game lead over Phoenix. They are 1 game behind the Sacramento Kings, who are 28-26. Golden State 27-27 on the year. The Dallas Mavericks, God, man, that just, I'm pissed. That was, if you have just this anger in your belly from that game tonight, I feel you. I get you. That was frustrating. It was just, God damn it. Anyways, so the Dallas Mavericks are 8th in the standings at 29-26. They have a 1.5 game lead over the Warriors. The Minnesota Timberwolves currently 7th at 30-25. They have a 2.5 game lead over the Warriors. The LA Clippers, the team that the Warriors undoubtedly are targeting in the standings, because it would mean that they would secure a playoff spot and not just a play in. The Clippers at 30-23 currently sit 3.5 games ahead of the Golden State Warriors with the 6th seed, and then 5 through 2 is like its own group. The LA Lakers are 32-20. They have a 6-game lead on the Golden State Warriors. The Houston Rockets have a 7-game lead on the Golden State Warriors at 34-20. The Denver Nuggets, a 7.5 game lead on the Golden State Warriors. 8.5. At 36-19. The Memphis Grizzlies with a 9-game lead on the Warriors at 36-18. So those are your standings for the evening in the West. Won't touch the East because who cares? I think that's it. We're good. We're done. Brutal loss. What are you going to do? Yeah, June Adolfo is correct. Buddy Hield is competing in the 3-point contest. Why? You tell me. I have no idea. Thanks, as always, to my good friend Larry Krueger for joining me once a week. We do this as a duo, a dual stream more specifically. And thank you to the Krug Show audience. Sincerely. We'll be back next week for the Krug Show audience. Follow Larry Krueger on Twitter at SportsLarryK. That's where he provides all his updates on the program and everything going on with him. You can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Threads and Instagram at Dog Wild, on Twitter at Surf Journalist. Golden Days is on Twitter and Threads and Instagram at Golden Days Pod. Bummer that they lost. They're back at it tomorrow night. If you're part of the Krug Show, we go post-game every night after a Warriors game. So come join the party. Subscribe. For the Golden Days audience, subscribe to the Krug Show, especially if you're a Niners fan, because Larry there's no one better. There is literally no one better when it comes to Niners coverage. So for all the Golden Days audience members, subscribe to the Krueger Show and vice versa. Thank you, everyone. And Damien LaRoche asking, where's Ryan Leong? He joins us for all the home games. So I give him a little break for the road games since I don't actually pay him. So he'll be back with us when the Warriors are at home. And yeah, Ray Enderman saying that Larry is the man. You're absolutely right, brother. I call him the king of Bay Area sports media. He is what Gary Radnich was like 15, 20 years ago. That's Larry now. Bravo to him. I cannot be happy. I can't be happy enough because he's actually one of the good guys in this industry, and you don't encounter that on a consistent basis. So I'm happy for him, and thank you to his audience for putting up with me. And that is it. Bye-bye. This game sucked, but they're back at it tomorrow. Let's hope the Warriors get a win. Have a great night, everybody. Bye-bye.